Hey, welcome back. We're going to round out our Medicare 101 course, sales course here with Joey Sargent. My name's Chris Costanza, Joey the Hitman Sargent. Today, we are going to be talking to you guys about the Medicare sales flow. How do you go through it? What's the flow? What's the one-page outline? What is the positioning statement? How do you build rapport? What's the content? What's the body? What's the conclusion of the messaging? Right? What's that? How does it flow together, Joey? Right? And this will apply both. Correct me if I'm wrong. This will apply for both Medicare supplements and Medicare Advantage, whether it's G, F, and Advantage, whether it's DVH or prescription drug plans or HIP or cancer. This one-page sales outline will cover the nuts and bolts, the 1 to 10, right? It will cover 1 to 10 on how do we straight line a prospect into a client. The shortest distance, we tell us, I believe the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So oftentimes a prospect will try to get off that straight line and get off to this. It's your job to straight line them, A to B. Where's your B? Define where your B is. Our B is A to B. Our B is getting them to become a client that's happy, that's with us for years to come. A to B, straight line them. So take us through the straight line, Joey, and tell us a little bit about why are you just so good at closing new money and new business in the Medicare arena? Like, why are you a guy that can get on the phone and close 95% of your appointments that keep the appointment? Like, I've watched you do this for a long time now, and you're 95% closer for people. You know what I mean?
And you'll see, one of the things that I specialize in, one of the things that I'm always focusing on, not only in business, this is a constant thing for me, is I'm always looking at the dynamics of every relationship that I'm a part of. It's important, it's impertinent in sales to know exactly how you're making the other person feel about themselves, about the company that they're with, about you, and about the current situation in the conversation. It's vital to know all 4 of those pieces. Because if I know, go for it.
And some of the ways is Joe's been very strategic on where he markets to, right?
It's true.
He hits the turning 65 clients. He hits the farmers clients. He hits those in the Missouri anniversary rule, which simply states 60 days around their birthday or their enrollment.
The day that they started their Medicare supplement policy.
So 60 days around that renewal date, right? So they're open to enrollment in any different possible
They can
product.
move to any carrier without any underwriting, so they're not going to be declined.
Same thing with moving them to AARP. So Joe just knows these simple basics. Missouri anniversary rule, make sure you know that rule. Make sure you know AARP is something that gets people in that maybe has complications. Make sure you know when we can change things out so you're not fuzzy, right? We're trying to eliminate the traffic jams in your brain.
Right.
That way you know, hey, how do I get from A to B? How do I get them in a straight line? You can't take somebody on a straight line on a journey or destination unless you know the roadmap.
It's true.
So right now,
end in mind,
we're going to go through the roadmap on the Medicare straight line, the one-page outline. It's in our sales script. But go ahead and take us through this, how to maintain a disciplined sales flow. Okay. Joe is actually very disciplined with his sales flow and his call control. One thing I've noticed about him is he's always the expert in his field. He's always enthusiastic with the client. He's always very agreeable and elevating them. He's always somebody that's sharp as a tack. Okay, so that's number one. Is he builds rapport very well, and he leads with his power statements. He leads with his belief statements. So Joe, I'm on this one-page outline here, 1 to 8 actually. Okay. So it's actually section 8 on this.
Okay, interesting. I guess.
Let me give you the one-page sales outline.
That'd be perfect. Oh, wait,
here, let's trade this here.
There you go. Perfect. So whenever you're going in for the sale, remember, this is just the same as marketing. If you haven't seen the marketing video, stop this one right now and go back and watch it. The first 10 seconds are the most important. Second 90 seconds are the second most important, and the last 90 seconds are also the third most important. So when I'm going enthusiastic as all get out. Hey, is this James? Hey James, this is Joseph with the Costanza Agency. So glad I got a hold of you today. I'm really excited to help you out with your Medicare for that appointment we had scheduled here at 3 o'clock today. Do you have your Medicare cards on hand? Go ahead and grab those for me real quick. And I'm setting the table saying, hey, I'm so excited to get this done. I'm also a fast-moving person. So you're not going to have to be here for a long time, and you're going to enjoy the experience.
And Joe kind of builds rapport as he goes, but he starts with a yes question. You have a Medicare card thing, because everybody has that in their wallet. It's like having a driver's license. You have the handy, go ahead and grab that for me, right? He doesn't just ask and wait. He asks and he tells. He maintains call control. Okay?
This is vital. Everything in sales, everything in this entire process you'll see is me positioning. It's all positioning. It's like a sword fight. If you knock the other person over, it's done because you can.
And keep in mind, he knows his insurance tools portal. He knows that before he meets them. He knows which carriers he's gonna have pulled up. The two potential ones, he pulls them up on his multiple screens. He pulls up, maybe it's Aetna and Humana or Aetna and Lumico. He pulls them up and he's ready to quote.
Ready to go.
So he's got all his tools ready to go, and then he leads into the second part of the sales flow, which is his power statements. It's a belief statements. Okay?
Yes.
He gets them to get the Medicare. They're building rapport. Hey, great! Thanks so much, Jim, getting this for me. Go ahead.
This is important. Now, read this, like Chris said in the marketing video as well. This script has to become a part of you. It can't be something that you're just reading, and it can't sound like you're reading it. You can't have monotone. You can't have anything. You're going to say, while you're grabbing your cards, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our agency. Here at the Chris Costanza Agency, we're actually full service. So that means we don't just do the Medicare. We actually do home insurance, auto insurance, life insurance, financial planning. We do the whole 9 yards. So if you need anything related to financials or Medicare, we're your one-stop shop.
So the positioning statement actually bleeds into rapport building as well, okay? Because it's not about us. We're telling you what we do for you.
Right.
Okay?
It has nothing to do with, us just being glory hogs. We're saying, hey, these are all the services that we're going to provide for you. And I believe that the people who are happiest in our brokerage have the most amount of policies with us. So then after that, you say, but we specialize in working with Medicare and working with seniors. And so I have 2 goals for you today. Now here's really important. You're laying out what A is and you're laying out what B is for the client so they can also help you along that journey.
So when you say, hey, we specialize in Medicare, and then you have what we call a pivot. Okay, if you play basketball, the pivot foot is the thing that you have that stands still and you're able to maneuver, right? The pivot foot, right? You can move around on it. Okay, so he's moving now, he's pivoting now a pivot is you didn't even know that I moved, but I was moving. I pivoted.
Now we're somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't even know I was moving. So I'm pivoting now to my belief statements. So you have to understand the importance of each part of this script so that you actually understand the why behind the what.
Right.
So why are you telling them now what we're about as an agency? Because they need to know how we're going to serve them.
Right.
Why are you then pivoting to belief statements? Why do they care what you believe in?
Because people do business with other people who believe the same thing. People will not do business with you if they don't believe the same thing. If my belief is that you will be happier by saving money, and you also believe the same thing, it'll be easy. I'll say, here's how we do it, and you go, great, let's do it. If I believe that you're better off spending more money, and you believe you're better off saving more money, then we have to adjust that, and we have to get on the same page, or business is not happening.
If this person believes that they're better off calling the Joe Namath commercial and dealing with a call center that never talked to the same person twice, you're not going to win that person over. The good news is that nobody believes that.
It's true.
People do that out of desperation. Like they can't get a hold of a reliable person. They're in the middle of the country. They don't know anybody. There's a Medicare salesperson. They just don't. They've searched online and nobody's gotten a hold of them.
That's
right?
true.
That's what we're here to be a local rep that's actually able to take care of. Not a call center.
Right.
Call centers can be dangerous.
It's true.
You know what I mean? Because there's no accountability for what's actually going to happen. I'm talking about a call center that's not local. I'm talking about a call center that's not
out in Canada or Jamaica or something like that.
Call centers have purpose and they're important. We're building one. We're building one. But the point is that if it's not somebody that actually knows and cares and on the ground people, right?
It's a different experience.
So pivot to the belief statement. What are your belief statements?
So I say, in my goals, I'm setting out what's going to happen. And I use the goals to pivot to the beliefs, right? I'm going to set the goals and say, I'm going to educate you about your coverages and the options that we have that are going to better your insurance. And then number 2, I'm going to create a better value proposition for you and in turn earn your business because I believe, and then here's where these belief statements come in handy. Number 1, I believe everybody deserves to have a trusted advisor to help them get control over their Medicare. Now, these belief statements, you don't want to just call them out like, okay, number 1, I believe this. You want to just say it subtly and they'll totally agree with you or disagree with you and it'll be obvious. So I believe everybody deserves to have a trusted advisor to help them get control over their Medicare. People love that one, okay? And I also believe that every senior deserves to have the best price, the best product, the best value, the best coverage every single year when it comes to their Medicare. And so that's why I do what I do. And the way that I do that is I'm going to ask you some personal questions about your current plan. I'm going to find out what you've got right now. I just pivoted again.
Yeah, and part of his belief system is, and because of that, that's why our brokerage has actually signed up with 52 carriers, and we don't just represent one or two for our seniors. We represent all of them so that we can actually serve you, the senior, and not necessarily the carrier.
Exactly.
Okay? So that's what we're here to do today for you guys, okay?
Exactly. I always love to tell the clients, I say, hey, I don't represent one or two carriers to you. I represent you to all the carriers.
That's beautiful, right? And it's like, hey, a lot of times, I have a broker already. Yeah, a lot of times they can only do one or two, maybe one, right? So I want to make sure that you understand this is really the first 3 or 4 minutes, but you're building rapport, you're talking to them, they're understanding what you're doing. You're telling them to take notes. You're making them feel like, oh, wow, this guy is an expert.
Yeah.
People are influenced by experts.
It's true.
People are influenced by people that they perceive to be the smartest guy in the room.
Yep.
Okay? So if they think they know more than you because you're babbling and you're rambling, you're uhs and ums, and you're just all over the place and
Gotta get rid of
undisciplined,
that.
if you're undisciplined in your sales script, they will think this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Let me talk
Practice
about
makes permanent.
So there's 2 different ways now that Joe can now pivot to the next statement in this, right? Because all along the way he's trial closing, right? This makes sense to you so far, right? There's 2 different ways that he can pivot. I've watched him do this. If they're turning 65 and are never enrolled in Medicare, he begins the explanation of services on what does Medicare A and B do, right? Medicare A covers your
hospital expenses.
Medicare Part B covers your
medical expenses.
And I've seen them say, hey, A is for your hospital bills, B as in boy covers your doctor bills, right? And he explained it to them. Now, he might do that if they already have Medicare,
right?
But if not, he actually gets into the meat and potatoes.
That's true. We go right on in. Once I make sure that the client knows enough about Medicare for us to have a conversation about it, then I'm going into the value proposition.
Right. And again, if they've never enrolled in Medicare, they're 64 and a half, that's when he begins to say, hey,
take my time.
Here's what A does, here's what B does. Seniors tend to buy from people that educate them. Okay, here's what A does, here's what B does, and then you begin to drive the wedge on Part A. Now, the problem with Part A is that it doesn't cover you for all the things that you'd like to have, right? That's why you have a Medicare supplement, okay? Right. If you go to the hospital once, it could be $1,400. God forbid you go 3 times, like right?
Yep.
Right? And so you want to make sure you know that A is for hospital, B is for medical costs, right? And you want to then give them the solutions. Now, I would recommend 1 or 2 different types of coverages. Have them write it down and tell them, hey, I know it can seem like there's 100 options, right? But I'm going to focus on 1 or 2 for you. Make it real simple.
Easy for you.
Demystify the process when you're selling to them. Now, Joe, if they already have a Medicare supplement, that's what you really specialized in, or they already have an advantage, what do you do next?
Oh, that's super easy. So what I do at that point is I just gather the information about what they have. So tell me about the policy that you chose, why you chose it, and how it's worked for you. Read off to me the details on the card there, if you would. And I'll write down on a sheet or my iPad or whatever, all the details of the plan. If it's a plan F, if it's a high deductible F. I had one of those the other day. This lady was like, yeah, we have F, and it's $100 a month. And I was like, I get that, and I see that on your statements. That can't be true. Read off the card to me. And she goes, oh, it's an HF. And I know exactly what that is. So I'm able to help her at that point. So that allows me to drive a wedge. It's hard to drive a wedge against the competition you can't see. So you have to know what you're up against. So I'm going to gather the information about the plan. I'm going to be pushing it, and then say, hey, what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to give you the exact same coverage or better coverage, and I'm going to lower your cost on this and make it very easy for you folks. I'm going to run the application, and then assuming everything's approved, we're going to get you some savings and better coverage on this, okay? And I just assume the sale.
And your trial closed them, or you're just assuming it?
Oh, I assume the sale, and then I do little trial closes like, yeah, so we're going to make sure that we get this started for you folks. What day of the month do you usually have your payments come out on? Is that the first?
Yeah, these little trial closes to make them prime in the pump.
You're getting this ready.
Do you say, hey, does this make sense so far?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll ask them, does that sound good for you so far?
So after the belief statements, that then comes the educational part of the presentation. Where you're re-educating them, or you're educating them for the first time. And then that leads into Joe's value presentation of all the different things we have to offer. So Joe, tell the sales team a little bit about your value presentation.
Yeah. There's, first and foremost, I want to let you know there's always going to be gaps in conversation. You need to understand how to navigate those gaps so you're never coming out with ums, uhs, There's a spinning wheel on my screen. You never want to talk about anything like that. Your whole goal is A to B, A to B, A to B. Anything else you put in their minds is confusion and chaos, and they won't trust you.
Don't talk to yourself or about yourself that much unless it applies to them and it builds rapport with them.
Talk about the information you're putting in. If you have a long pause, like your computer's loading and it's just being slow on getting the quote for something, then you ask them, hey, are you local to this area? Do you have family in the area? What are you doing for the holidays? How has COVID affected your life over the last few years? Are you enjoying retirement? There's a whole list of easy questions to just get them talking so I can enter in information and just go, wow, that's amazing.
And go through FRE. So, hey, is your wife going to be on your policy? When does she turn 65?
Yeah.
Like, great, awesome. Great.
Exactly.
You live in this part of town? Great. That's fantastic.
One of our best areas.
What did you do for work before you retired? Okay, great. What did you do for fun now that you are retired?
Yeah.
Build a relationship. Get to know them. Put it in the notes. Put it in the agency blog.
Put it in the notes. Because when they call back next year, we call them in 3 years or whatever it is, and we're sending out the emails, we want to know who they are. And we want to be able to say, hey, how's your daughter doing? Has she graduated medical school yet? So,
Joe, I've noticed before you actually get on the Care website and before you're actually running the application, you're doing a little value presentation. Can you describe that for us?
Absolutely. So when I'm describing the value, I'm going to say, hey, let's say somebody's got a Medicare supplement, okay? I'm describing the value of our agency, and I'm saying, hey, number one, I'm going to show you the 2 best options on the market right now that are a lot better than what you've got here, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run up an application for you. I'll need some personal information for that, so make sure you have that on hand. And then I want to let you know, assuming everything goes through and the underwriting works out, we make sure that your old policy is canceled so you're not paying 2 at the same time. We make it very easy, very low hassle to make sure that you don't have to lift a finger to get this all done, but you get the Medicare that you deserve. Because honestly, you folks have been working for this for a long time. You've been paying into your Social Security and your Medicare for years. It's about time you had somebody that works for you.
So as Joe's on a straight line, it's a very disciplined and very tight sales process. He's building rapport and he's building a relationship with the prospect the entire conversation. Not talking about himself, not babbling, not rambling, not going all over the place, not doing about this, staying very focused on the close, very target on the goal, right?
Yep.
And then after the value presentation, Joe begins to submit the application that, like you said in a prior video, goes about 5 to 7 minutes.
Yep.
He's working out the kinks. He's talking about the doctors, the prescriptions. Tell us about what are you doing when you run the application?
What I'm doing is I'm putting in basic information. I'm typing it in. I'm asking them health questions. When I go through, there's a long list of health questions for every policy, usually more for Medicare supplements. I say, hey, I'm going to ask you a big list of health questions here. I need you to stop me if the answer to any of these is yes. Otherwise, I'm going to assume it's no. Have you ever had in the last 12 months, and I just go through it, boom, 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 the whole way down the list. Saves a ton of time rather than pausing after each question. So that's part of what I do. Then also, as I'm asking them about the process, hey, who do you go to for your doctor? Okay, great. Where are they located? I make sure I get the right one. This is more important for Medicare Advantage than for Medicare Supplements, because Medicare Supplements, you can go to anybody. But as I'm getting their information, oh yeah, that looks like a great doctor. Have you enjoyed going to them? How long have you been there? And I'm building those little questions to fill time to make sure that I'm getting everything done right, to keep the conversation going, and to establish myself as somebody who cares about the product, the service, and the client.
And Joe has done this as a masterful way. He says, hey, I know there's 100 options, but I'm going to focus on 1 or 2. And here's why I recommend this primary option through Aetna.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Or through Lumico, or through whatever, one of his top 5.
Oh, that's simple.
Here's why I recommend the primary options, because this is what it's going to do for you, right? This is the great, G stands for greatest value. This is going to be the best coverage you ever had in your entire life. Okay? And he's making those power statements, and he says, hey, yeah, you might pay an additional premium for this supplement, but this is going to be the best coverage that you've ever had in your entire life.
Yep.
This pays the additional 20% that the Medicare plan that you thought you had doesn't pay.
Yep.
Right? Now, if you handle it right on the front end, guys, you're going to hear a lot less objections. We've got tons of Joe's phone calls recorded and transcriptions, and you hear a lot less transcriptions if you have a disciplined sales process, you follow an outline, and you follow a script, and you keep them on a straight line. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Joe? How often do you deal with objections once you're in the appointment?
A few times. Yeah, it's not uncommon at all. But here's the thing is they're not usually big objections. I had one recently. The lady was like, well, I want to see this. I want to make sure I understand everything that I'm looking at. And I said, absolutely. Sounds like you want to make a really educated decision and the right decision. And that's why I do what I do. To be honest with you, there's really nothing more I can say about this policy because it's the same coverage as what you've had before. It's the exact same, regulated by the federal government. The only thing that's different is the name on the policy and how much you pay for it. And so I fully get that. And I'm going to make sure that in this process you get taken care of. So let's put through the application for you, okay?
And so that leads into the closing. To take us through the closing, how do you begin to grab their Medicare card, their routing and account number, if they're Medicare Advantage? How are you closing the deal? What's your closing language? You've already closed them, but how are you closing and then collecting referrals? Maybe selling them an auto policy, a home policy, setting that appointment. Maybe asking them about burial. Have they got the burial policy all covered, wrapped up? How are you sealing the deal? Closing and sealing the deal, part 7 and part 8, and then asking and collecting referrals. They've done a lot of referrals this year as well. Tell us a little bit about that part.
That process is actually probably my favorite. To be honest with you, we've already closed the client very early in the conversation. If they say, yes, that sounds good to the proposition of saving money and getting better coverage, then part of the information I ask is what's your routing and account number. As I'm asking what's your height and weight, what's your social, what's your address, what's your routing and account number, what day of the month do you like to pay, boom, done. I don't even ask them, does that sound good? I just push it through. I just get it done. Because at that point, if they're like, that's where you might get a few objections. Oh, I don't know if we want to do this. Yeah, do we want to? And that's easy to handle.
What percentage of the time do you get that?
Maybe 20%. Yeah. It's not that often. We just get in there, we push it through, we get it done, make them feel good. You know, give them an experience, right? Make them excited. So then after that, once I've got it all pushed through and I've got that last screen that has the confirmation numbers and all that, I say, great, we got this pushed through for you. I'm going to make sure we keep you folks updated. Be on the lookout in your mailbox for those hard copies of the policies and the cards. And that'll be sent pretty soon here. And again, we're going to make sure that your old policy gets taken care of so that you don't have 2 policies going at once. Now, I do want to let you know, with this policy, I always include this other coverage over here. And the reason for that is, and I might go to the cancer policy next, I always include a cancer policy and say, hey, I want to make sure that this works for your budget, and I especially want to make sure that it works for an emergency. If you get contracted with cancer, if you get diagnosed with cancer, there's a lot of stress to go along with that. I don't want you to have financial stress at the same time. This, what it does is it cares for that, right? Or we go into the home and auto insurance and say, hey, great, I'm so glad we got to take care of your Medicare today. I'm really thankful. I'm excited to be your agent for years and years to come. One of the things that we do at our agency, as I told you before, is we actually do a lot of other policies too. We do home and auto insurance. To be honest with you folks, in your zip code, that's one of our best areas. We're saving people quite a bit of money, averaging around $500 to $700 a year. What vehicles do you drive right now? Okay, great. And then you said you're living at this address, right? Do you own or rent that place?
You go right into it. You don't ask them if you don't ask them if you do an auto quote, a home quote. You tell them, actually, I do this for all my senior clients, is I run a quote to get their auto and home insurance quote. I've actually got 99% of the information already to generate a quote. All I got to do is put this in.
Let's run it
up. Joe goes right into it, okay? I got your address, I've got your wife's name, I got all this stuff.
Date of birth.
Any other drivers on the policy.
Occupations.
You make that a part of your whole sales process at the very end, right? And that's how you cross into it. It's like, you already have all the information.
It's true.
Routing account, their home, their address, their wife. All you need is their vehicles, and that actually comes up in the clue report.
So you basically have everything.
Yeah.
And you just make sure you know how much they're paying, what their deductibles are. You sell the value again. Wow, this is your lucky day. You know, not only are we helping you out with your Medicare, but it looks like we'll be able to give you a great deal and a lot of extra coverage on your home and auto insurance too. I'm going to finish working this up, and I'm going to call you back, or I'm going to be out in your area this time or this time. 2 times. Again, always 2 times. Which one's better for you?
And I've also seen you do some burial policies where you get that final expense. I talked to a guy that said he does 20% of his Medicare policies. He adds a final expense to.
It's brilliant.
So Joe does the burial expenses, and we say, hey, listen, we can include a $5,000 burial policy for you. It's very
cost is going to be this. Do you want to put it on the same?
Very inexpensive at age 65. Let's get this going as well, okay? So Joe does a lot of that. The DVH, you run that as well right after that.
Yep, dental, vision, and hearing. Who do you folks go through for your dental, vision, and hearing coverage right now? Okay, how's that working for you? Okay, gotcha. I'm going to give you an upgrade on this. Okay, we got 2 options here. We can do this one or this one. Which one works better for you?
So you're closing them, you're underwriting them, right? You're collecting referrals. This is the Curls process, right? You're closing them, you're underwriting the application, you're putting it through, you're collecting referrals, you're getting the life policy, the burial policy, and then you're sealing it all up and turning it into the administration team. You're sealing it up, here's how it's going to be on board. You double check the email process, right? And so you basically are 95% closer, you know? The only times I've seen Joe maybe have a hiccup or two is when a guy says, hey, I've got a $0 Medicare Advantage plan. I'm happy with and I've got the best coverage. And you know what? Joe says, hey, listen, we're going to keep it on file. It's very rare that we run into a situation where we can't swap somebody in and out, right? Even on the Medicare Advantage.
Oh, absolutely. The only times people, I'll just be straight up. The only times we've not been able to sell somebody is if they have something like TRICARE, where they were in the military for over 20 years and they get all their health benefits completely guaranteed and covered for life no matter what. Second is if a spouse that I didn't talk to comes in and basically vetoes the conversation and says, no, we're not going to do it. It makes it so awkward for the person that I'm talking to that they decide it's not worth it to go forward. Third option is when people just aren't interested in getting better coverage. People just don't want to better their situation. They just don't want to move anything.
They've been in the same Medicare Advantage, 0 premium for 10 years, and they're terrified that might change.
They're just stuck. Or they just don't care. They're apathetic.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Nobody ever hits 100 balls outside the park. It doesn't happen.
It's true.
You just focus on getting to be a 90% face-to-face or phone-to-phone, kneecap-to-kneecap over the phone. Make them feel special. Make them feel important. Go through the process. Rapport building, right? Introductory statement, right? Belief statements, positioning statements, right? Explanation of services, right? Education, the value presentation, right? The running the application, which is part 6. The close, where you've already closed them, but now you're telling them what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. And then the curls. Remember, curl stands for C. You're closing everything up, getting everything prepared for the administration team to put it into agency block. You've already underwritten the application. Make sure it's submitted again. You're collecting referrals every time. Hey, I need 3 to 5 people. Who else do you know in your neighborhood that's turning 65 or is 65 and older? Who can we help out that you know? We like to work with people that we like, know, and trust. We typically do business that way, right? The life insurance plan that we have for you. We want to make sure we get something on file. It's a burial policy in case something happens to you, right? And then you seal the deal. You seal it back up. You make them feel special. You tell them about our agency. You tell them how we're going to connect with them. You tell them about, hey, you'll be getting some onboarding emails. Right. If they don't have email, don't pressure them. Just say, hey, we're going to start mailing you some products. You get in the mail here shortly. You tell them when the policy will start, when the payment comes out. You make sure it's as clean as transition, and then you go to the next sale. Don't be the type of person that gators, as we like to say, a gator. The only time you can kill a gator if you're fighting them is if they're already full. They've already eaten. They're just moving lethargically. You can't become a person that has that dopamine hit that, hey, I closed 1 client today, and now I'm good to go for the rest of the day. And you just run the rest of the day on dopamine. You have to, as a salesperson, if you're full-time selling Medicare, you have to get comfortable doing 10, 15 appointments a day, applications a day, and adding 8, 10, 12 clients a day. You just have to keep your pipeline full, moving, and closed. Okay? So we want to thank you for participating, taking notes, studying these videos, and I want to recommend and encourage you go through these 16 videos. We'll be adding more in the future, but go through these 16 sessions at least 2 or 3 times and take notes, ask questions, study it. Begin to do your homework, because the more you're prepared, right? The more you prepare and practice perfectly, and it'll become permanent. When you get in the game, you won't give in to fight, flight, or freeze. You'll have the ability to solve every problem. I believe you're a problem solver, and I believe problem solvers make the world go round and make the most money, right? And I believe you're a problem solver if you listen to this video. You wouldn't be here if you weren't a problem solver. That's true. I believe you're a problem solver. I believe you're part of this team to serve people. I believe people that serve the most amount of people make the most amount of money. Okay? I believe you can do this. I believe you can learn this, and I can believe you can do it quickly. And the last but not least, I believe you can sell $1 million in health premium, Medicare premium in less than 12 months.
Let's go.
Let's go win.